Shankar. I've been at DataStax, which is the company I work for about 4 years. And before that, I worked at a number of different places. I've been running a cloud service, mission-critical cloud service, for over a dozen years. So that pager duty thing brought PTSD for me because I'm always on call. Those of you that have done this, you're always on call, right? As the head of engineering, you never know when someone's going to need your help. And I've been on lots of incidents, and so I've lived through and understand the value deeply, right? So DataStax is a company that was founded as a core committer to Cassandra, which is a database that many of you may be familiar with. And we have a lot of customers over the decade or so that we've been in business. We were acquired by IBM. Our transaction closed last week, so at this point we are all part of IBM. And like every other company, we do AI, right? Of course, that's a given. And so we have our flavor of AI. Our database supports vector search, and it does it pretty well. And then also we acquired a small company that was building a tool called Langflow that maybe some of you have used. It's a very popular open source tool for rapidly building AI apps and agents, right? So you can quickly assemble your AI apps and agents, and it's very popular on GitHub, has over 60,000 stars. Today, I'm not going to talk anymore about DataStax. I'm going to talk about our journey of using AI, right, and transforming ourselves using AI. So our journey started over two and a half years ago. Glean was the first tool that we decided to adopt. Glean at that point, actually at the point that we were talking to them, we just wanted internet search. And right when we were bringing that in, the whole AI and ChatGPT and all that became a deal. And so they quickly brought in Glean Chat, and we've been very, very happy, and we use Glean Chat a lot. Everybody at the company uses it for different things because our engineers use it for asking questions about technical docs or Slack information in Slack and so on. And then of course people in sales use it to ask questions. It goes through our Salesforce information and all of other stuff. So it's pretty powerful tool. And then we started looking at Gen AI more broadly. We were actually looking at using it for our own operations, right? We were thinking, some of us were ideating and saying, hey, wouldn't it be cool if we could take some of these metrics and logs and feed them in and see what AI produces? And right then, Spiros and Mayank showed up and said, hey, we have this startup we're doing. We're looking for design partners. We said, great, we'd love to outsource the problem to you. And so we ended up partnering with them since I think sometime early last year. And we've been on this journey. So the way we did this is I assigned a couple of the production engineers, we call them production engineers, SREs, right? A couple of them to work very closely with Spiros and team. And I knew that they would be the people who are more open and willing to experiment and so on. So those are the people I assigned because I wanted them to be open-minded, right? Because there's a lot of cultural issues around AI. And so they've been working, and then now we're actually in production. We're about halfway done with our production rollout, and the remaining production rollout should be happening, might have even happened earlier today. So really going well. And then we also adopted another tool called Incident.io. So Incident.io and Glean, Resolve are kind of the basis for our transforming the way our SRE and PE team works, right? That's what we're doing. I want to talk a little bit about this project that we launched about 5-6 weeks ago. We're calling it Project Catalyst. So obviously, GitHub Copilot has been around for a while, and we used it. But a couple of months ago, I actually tried some of these tools myself. I was looking at some of the newer developments around Cursor and Windsurf and Claude and so on. And I realized that if we didn't jump on this quickly, we were going to get left behind, right, on the coding side, because the tools have advanced so much, and it was time for us to embrace them. I kind of look at this like farming, right? Imagine you're farming with the horse and plow, and now the tractor is here. right, you'd be an idiot not to take the tractor, right? Yes, the tractor is not going to work perfectly. I'm sure it breaks down. There's a million reasons not to do it. But I think the mindset you want is to see what it can do that you couldn't do before, right? I think if you go in with the mindset of, oh, this breaks here, this breaks there, it screws up whatever, right? Then you're never going to go anywhere, right? So I've been telling the team, flip your mindset and say, you've got this amazing tool, see what it can do that you couldn't do before. And guess what? There's lots of things. And people that way open up and really get into it. One of the surprising stories we've had is we have, like every other enterprise company, we have a support team, right? Large support team. And these folks have had ideas for tools and things that they would want to see, but they haven't had the time and bandwidth to go and implement them. And with this project, we suddenly found our support engineers building all these cool tools that they've been thinking about for a long time, right? But never got around to doing. And suddenly we see, some amazing tools emerging, right? So it's very surprising how this technology now, I mean, it's back to the tractor analogy. Again, probably the tractor helped a lot of people become farmers that wouldn't have been farmers before, right? So the thesis that we're going to have a lot more software that Spiros talked about is actually absolutely true, right? I think what's going to happen, same, again, using the farming analogy, now we could farm much more, right? And you could have way more land being, cultivated. And that is, I think, what's going to happen is we're going to see an explosion in software, right? Because, I mean, one of my favorite examples is single-use software, right? Which is unthinkable, right? You would never have thought that I would go to code, this huge Python script or whatever to do some log scraping one time and throw it away, right? Guess what? That's a reality, right? Single-use software is now becoming everyday, right? So I think that we're going to see a lot more explosion, and all of the problems that Spiros is talking about are real. They're not imaginary, right? I mean, in fact, one of the things we immediately asked ourselves is, okay, we want to take these support tools and put them out in production, but how do we do that, right? So I think there's still a lot of questions there in terms of understanding how to take all of this code and put it into production without having more scrutiny and so on and so forth. But certainly there's lots of opportunity, lots of interesting things. And so one of the things we also wanted to do was, because this is all new, right, to all of us, I wanted to take the team on a collective journey, right? So what we did is we established a Slack channel, like for everything, right? Slack channel is the first thing you have to do. But in this case, the Slack channel, and then we also gamified it a little bit, where we offered incentives for people signing up, doing their first post, right? First insightful post. We also found like the most insightful post that week and things like that, right? So just encouraging people to share. We've also held a couple of like open Q&A sessions where we're talking about things. And we've been very open, right? Because there are, by the way, some spectacular flameouts as well with this technology, right? So it fails. When it fails spectacularly. And then when it succeeds also, it succeeds spectacularly. So there's things on that spectrum. And so we wanted to make sure that we were having an open conversation, an honest conversation on where it works, where it doesn't work. And again, this is also changing, right? Every week, every couple of weeks, there's something new coming out. And so this is going to be an ongoing journey, and that the idea was that we all kind of figure this out together, and people are actually having that open dialogue, and we're changing, right? We're figuring out where the sweet spot is currently and where we shouldn't be spending a lot of time because it's just a time sink, right? So the next thing we're doing there, by the way, is so the last 4 or 5 weeks, whenever we started this, everybody's kind of warmed up to the idea. Everybody's gotten familiar with the set of tools. We offered a choice, by the way, because there's so many tools. And I think there's going to be always lots of tools because my mental model is you've got a team of assistants and a team of humans, and they're all working together, right? One of the things that these tools don't do very well is facilitate sort of group collaboration and things like that, but I think it'll all come. It's more designed around individual productivity, not group productivity, but I'm sure it'll come. So anyway, that's where we're going. So the next thing we're doing, is we're actually going to do a week-long quality challenge, right? So the idea is to use these tools together to make a significant difference in quality, right? That's kind of what we're doing. Okay, now let me talk a little bit about Resolve and what we're doing there. Currently, we're looking at it as a means to lower our mean time to detection and mean time to resolution for incidents, right? So very focused on incidents and how we resolve incidents faster. Just to give you an idea, we're a database company, right? So if the database is down, then the business is down, right? So for us, the time to resolve an incident is very, very important. That's kind of where we focused. Couple of use cases, couple of modes we're using it in. One is as an assistant, right? So when we're investigating an incident, we wanted it integrated within Slack so that we could, because that's what we're using. We're using incident.io. So the incident.io sets up a Slack channel for each incident. And so the idea is Resolve Assistant is in there, and we can ask it questions and quickly help. So there, it's actually helping us navigate all of that information very, very quickly, right? And some things that it does particularly well, and I suspect we had to, this is where the team worked with us, is we have a multi-tenant system. So when there's an outage, it might be on a specific tenant, and that tenant actually is sharing services with other tenants and so on, right? So understanding all of that is additional data that Resolve has digested and understood about our environment. So all of that, it works very well. And then the other side, it's for RCAs, post-mitigation, right? So during the incident, we're using it as an assistant, and then post-incident, we're using it to track down the RCA and so on and so forth, do more deeper analysis. We've got a few more things we're thinking about. We're also thinking about left shifting some of this into the development time as well, because a lot of times when developers are building and testing, they also spend a lot of time debugging. So we're trying to see if we can get them resolved also, so that they can debug faster and get to root cause and so on and so forth. And then also we're trying to see if we can, we have our non-prod environments and things like that, where typically alerts and things don't go, nobody sits, sweating those alerts, right? They kind of go unnoticed, but they're all actually indicators of something that's lurking that'll show up later in production. So we're trying to see if we can use Resolve more heavily in the non-prod environments to do automated analysis and so on and so forth. So that's all I had, Spirit.
Thank you. I mean, like as Resolve, when I thank you, of course, your team helped us a lot, and your team is also amazing, very well organized. Maybe actually one thing you said, which I think is the right mindset, right? Like, oftentimes when I talk to like folks in engineering, I see one of two responses, right? Okay, this works 50% of the time, or this works 50% of the time.
There you go.
Right? I think you need to have that mindset to some extent, right? Because it's evolving very quickly.
Yeah.
But maybe obviously, Shankar is going to stay here for a while. You feel free to ask questions. But maybe I can ask a couple based on what you presented. Maybe you can share a bit about the scale and the complexity of your environment also.
Yeah, totally. So we are in about 50 different regions across 3 clouds. Our database is offered in all 3 public clouds and 50 regions. And then we run probably thousands of servers, like about 5,000 or 6,000 different servers. And then we run about 100 microservices in these regions. And then we service about tens of thousands of databases, right? So that's kind of what we have. And then the request volume is about 3 to 5 million requests a second is kind of what we serve in aggregate across.
It's impressive, and obviously as a database, the reliability requirements are here,
yes,
right?
Yes, yeah, totally.
Then, maybe one more thing, like, what is your prediction, I guess, of where we're headed with AI, right? In engineering in particular, whatever you think might happen? Or
I think it's going to be dramatic. The shift is going to be dramatic, and we have to embrace it. It's going to take some time to get there. I think the stochastic nature of this is something we have to get used to. I think that's broadly true, right? Not just in engineering, because we're used to, the computer is always right? There's deterministic computing. And now we're getting into a world of stochastic computing, so we'll all need to adjust to that. And 50% of the time it's right. Hey, that's 50% of the time I saved some time, right? But you need to know when it's wrong so that you can quickly peel back. And of course, I'm sure it'll get better and better over time, so it won't be so bad. It'll get much more accurate. But I think there will still be some non-determinism. Right, and we just need to get used to it.
Okay, thank you. Thanks a lot.